Today we'll be talking with Ted Leonsis, the author of The Business of Happiness. Ted founded an internet media company which he sold for $60 million at the age of 28. He later founded Redgate Communications, which was acquired by AOL, where Ted became president. As president of AOL, Ted watched revenues grow from $60 million to over $10 billion, and market cap increase from $400 million to over $163 billion. He now owns the NBA Wizards, the NHL Capitals, and the WNBA Mystics, as well as the Verizon Center where we are today. But that's not what we'll be talking about today. Today we're going to talk about happiness. I'm Jim Canfield, CEO of Renaissance Executive Forums, and I'm very pleased to welcome you to Strategies for Success 2012. I'm happy to be with Ted Leonsis, author of The Business of Happiness. Welcome, Ted.
Thanks for coming.
So Ted, early in your book, you quote somebody pretty interesting, David Byrne and the Talking Heads, and use one of the lines from Once in a Lifetime. And that line is, "How did I get here?" So Ted, how did you get here?
Well, I think most people's careers are not well thought out and plotted, and there's a lot of serendipity that plays a role. For me, I had a reckoning. I had a major life-changing event, and that personal impetus, I survived a bad plane incident, really helped drive the second part of my career, and also helped me to try to build a life that I could look back on and be proud of.
So it's easy to look at you now, successful guy, built several companies, major companies that we've all heard of, and yet pretty humble beginnings in Brooklyn and Lowell, Mass.
I'd say humble. My dad was a waiter, didn't finish high school. My mom was a secretary, and I'm an only child, and it's one of the reasons that America is such a great country. I think parents always have the belief that their children will do better than they did, and each generation will prosper more than the generation before. And I think as business people and leaders, that's one of the great deliverables that we have, to keep that sense of optimism generation to generation going.
And you had some thoughts about where you wanted to go to school.
Well, I went to public schools, and I had a guidance counselor in high school actually told my parents that I wasn't really fit for college, and I took that a little bit personally, and it was probably the first time that I internalized that shouldn't believe the experts, that you should have the personal fortitude to try to pave your own way. And I ended up coming here to Washington, D.C., to Georgetown University.
And that led you to a career where?
Oh, my first job out of college was with a small computer company called Wang Laboratories. And Wang was growing like crazy. I learned all about scale and about technology and bringing technology to the masses. Wang was a different kind of computer company in that it tried to liberate a newly empowered female workforce who were coming into Fortune 1000 companies and automating a very tedious task of typing and filing and the like. If you can believe it, back in the 70s, most women who were entering the workforce were not executives. They were more in the administrative kinds of area. And so I got introduced to the power of technology and how liberating it could be. And I went to a computer show and bought my first Apple II computer. I can't believe this, back in 1979. The computers back then were so unsophisticated that they didn't really come made together. You bought components. In fact, I remember being at this trade show, and someone had a manual that had been written, and they Xeroxed it, and they put them in baggies. It was like drug dealers, and you like waited in line, you got your baggie, you paid $5 on how to solder and how to put together this Apple II computer. But I could just sense that something was happening. My experience at Georgetown, buying this first Apple II, that something big would happen. And then the entrepreneurial aha bug hit me. I was at a supermarket, if you can believe it, and I saw a TV guide. My mom and dad didn't watch a lot of television and let me watch a lot of TV. And I saw a TV guide, and it said the #1 best-selling magazine in America. And I said, I can't believe this is the #1 best-selling magazine in America. I've never seen it. And so I bought it. And if you've ever seen a TV guide, the front of the book is articles and interviews with television stars and directors and the like. And the back of the book is a directory. It was listings of which programs played on what networks and at what time. And I remember thinking, this is amazing that this could be such a successful business. And later that evening, I went into my home office in front of my Apple II, and I had 3 programs aside my computer. VisiCalc, if you can believe it, was the CP/M operating system, and a program called the PFS. It was this integrated graphics program. And I just looked at this computer and these programs and was thinking about TV Guide, and had this aha moment that this television that TV Guide was talking about in this computer, that they were starting to look the same. The computer had a screen. It had programs aside it, where TV Guide talked about programs and networks, networks being NBC and CBS. Well, you could connect now your Apple II to this new thing called Ethernet. And I just thought that one day those would come together. And so soon after, I quit my job and raised my first venture capital and started a company called LIST, which stood for the Leonsis Index to Software Technology. And basically it was a TV guide for the nascent personal computer business. It was IBM was introducing a personal computer. Soon thereafter, Apple introduced the Macintosh, and we built the databases of all of the programs that worked on all of these different hardware platforms. And it was a very successful venture. It was very young, and we scaled it very, very quickly. It became profitable very quickly, and a couple of years into it, I was fortunate enough to sell the company for $60 million.